Good evening. Today, I'd like to talk about a topic we're all too familiar with, video games. From what we know, there's a lot to love about video games. It has become one of the biggest forms of entertainment in the whole world, and it's taken the world by storm, including our country, of course. We could love the beautiful scenes and the provoking world immersion it offers us. We could love how it brings us endless fun with our friends and family. It's gotten to the point where actually huge groups of friends could actually play simultaneously. It's jaw-breaking how technology has advanced this much. We could also appreciate how video game esports is starting to become recognized and actually given the same amount of prestige as physical sports. We could not ignore the fact that this industry is growing, and is growing rapidly. Sounds blissful, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it isn't. Video games. We love them. Well, its makers, apparently we don't. People have the tendency to play video games for the sake of escapism. They don't want to face the harshness of reality. Video game developers are the people who offer that sense of escapism. And they are struggling, and I want to educate you on how they are. Because if we lose these people, we lose the sense of escapism they give us. Because it's such a successful industry, big companies are starting to capitalize on this phenomenon, and they are taking advantage of the creative minds of video game developers. We all have this to blame: greed. Now, they do this through the controversial means called crunch. Now, what is crunch, and why is it controversial? Crunch is an industry term describing a period up to a game's launch when the development team is putting in longer than normal hours to finish and polish the game. Developers have reported working more than 100 hours in a week just to get a game close to completion, usually citing poor project management or an unreasonably delivery schedule, sometimes even both, as the reason. This practice often leads to burnout, a condition where workers are unable to work due to poor mental health and physical health. According to the International Game Developer Association, they reported that 17% of game developers work more than 70 hours per week during crunch periods, and nearly half of this industry go over 60 hours. According to the IGDA as well, more than a third of surveyed game developers said their firms neglected to pay them overtime or other compensation for the extra hours they worked in making these games. It's incredibly terrifying and sad because you heard that right. They don't even get paid for the amount of work they do, even the extra hours. Developers are forced to crunch because if they don't, they have a higher chance of being fired or laid off. What kind of industry forces you to work extra hours just so you don't get fired? Apparently, that's the case in the gaming industry. This is incredibly sad as video game development is no easy feat, and to be forced to make such creations under such harsh conditions will eventually lead these people to quit the industry all in itself. Now, why does all of this matter? Millions of people play video games but aren't aware of the struggles the hundreds of people who make them are going through. You turn on the screen and it's just this whole new other world that exists on your screen, that you seem to forget the real life issues that happen in the creation of these worlds. Now, why am I saying all of this? The first step to actually making a difference is to actually know that there is a problem. While companies overworking their employees already exists, this practice sadly exists as well in the video game industry. If we don't want all of this to end, then we have to end crunch time. They're already making a stand, and I implore you that we should stand with them.